What is going on, you guys? Liv Moods here. We are here to hang out and chat and talk about the NFL schedule release. I know that we are still in the heat of the NBA, but the NFL it's probably going to come a lot quicker than you think it will. So we've got some exciting things to talk about. Until the schedule release, we're just gonna hang and maybe take a look at some lines in the FanDuel Sportsbook. Look ahead at some week 1 lines that are officially out. I know it seems like a lifetime away, but like I said, it sneaks up on you. So let's just start talking about the NFL. First and foremost, I want to ask you guys a few questions about your thoughts. I am a Denver girl, born and raised. I am all things Denver, Colorado. So as you know, as you can probably imagine, I am a pretty excited Denver Broncos fan at the moment. We acquired Russell Wilson. I think a lot of people believe he's washed. And while, you're entitled to your opinion, I think that this Broncos defense is extremely underrated. They will give him a little more protection than he had with the Seahawks. And I am feeling very optimistic as a Broncos fan. But I also want to talk about the AFC West in general. To me, this has now become the most difficult division in the NFL. You've obviously got Patrick Mahomes in there, but Patrick Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. That's a huge loss for the Chiefs. The Broncos acquired Russell Wilson. Not sure how the Raiders will be. They may surprise some people. I mean, you never know. They had a very tough season last year. A lot of personal things going on, obviously. Gabe says NFL so much better than all leagues. Can't argue with that. What's better than a Sunday full of NFL games? Betting wise, depends on the Sunday, but I love it nonetheless. Either way, I think the AFC West has officially become the most difficult division. That is something that I wanted to kind of get your guys' thoughts on, because I just think it's gotten really tough, and I'm interested to see who comes out on top. Is there hope for the Chargers? Are the Raiders going to be a sneaky team? Are the Broncos, my Denver Broncos, are they going to get it done? I see Noctacular. Noctacular? Okay, I'm not going to try anymore. He says, who dat? The Saints. Who knows what's going on there? Healthy Jameis Winston? Is that what we've got this season? Could be something. Either way, AFC West, I think, is very tough. I want to know your guys' thoughts on the Packers. The Packers' home schedule was released. Aaron Rodgers is going to go into this season without a star wide receiver. So I'm very interested to see what he does this season, not having that. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, but will he be a dud this year? Only time will tell. I'm not sure how I feel about the Packers at the moment. I will never forget, I took an insane parlay in week 1 last season. Mostly underdogs were in that parlay. And The one leg of my parlay that was not an underdog and was in fact a favorite was the Green Bay Packers, and they lost big time. So that was a super big blow to my ego because obviously I was going to cash on a pretty, I think it was like plus 700 or something. Maybe it was even plus 1,000. Either way, it was all underdogs to cover except for the Green Bay Packers. They blew it against the Saints and it was pretty horrifying. So I'm not sure I've forgiven them quite yet, but either way, I think there are some teams that are starting to drop their schedules, you guys. This just in. I think that's happening. I want to take a look now. Well, look at this. We've got a little Broncos. The Broncos schedule. I think we got to do it. Why don't I just share my screen with you guys? And we can take a look at this Broncos schedule from Twitter. September 12th, first game at Seattle. Would you look at that? That might be something. A little rivalry. Russell Wilson back in Seattle. Will he choke? Will he prevail? Only time will tell. I'm actually very excited for that game. I might need take a trip to Seattle. Then we've got the Houston Texans. I don't feel optimistic about them at all. I think that's a dub for the Broncos. San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to say that's another dub because the Broncos defense is awesome. At Las Vegas, well, that's a division rivalry right there. So, that one might be tricky. The Colts. How do we feel about the Colts this season, you guys? That's the question. How do we feel about the Colts this season? Let's keep going here. Let's just see if there's anything that sticks out to us. London game. Uh-oh. That'll be interesting. I believe the Jags last season won in London, did they not? Bye weekend, then they're Tennessee. That might be a tough one. I'm looking at this schedule and I'm actually thinking this schedule is not all that difficult. I'm feeling optimistic. I think I might sprinkle on the Broncos win total over. That Cardinals game, that might be tough. Kansas City, oof. Ravens, I don't know what we're going to get from them. Hopefully they're healthy this season. I think the tail end of their schedule, that's where we really start to see some stiff competition here. So that should be interesting. I want to actually pull up another little schedule. We're getting a lot of schedules coming in. The Pats. Let's take a look at the Pats. I think somebody might have requested the Patriots. Okay, here is your 2022 Patriots schedule. At Miami Dolphins, that should be a dub. Steelers. Interesting. First home game for them is against the Ravens in week 3. Okay. The Ravens are a tough one because I love Lamar Jackson. I also love the Ravens, but they were so riddled with injuries last season. It's really hard for me to get a read on what we're going to see from them this year. So I think that's kind of a tough one. Patriots at Green Bay. You guys know the deal. It is hard to win in Green Bay. But like I said, Aaron Rodgers is entering the season without his star receiver. So what is that going to look like? I'm very interested to find out. Also, we saw Mac Jones really struggle to throw the ball towards the end of the season. I mean, my goodness. So facing a guy like Rodgers who's got an arm and can pretty much, he's just very efficient with his passing. That might be a tough one for the Patriots. Their bye weekend is week 10. I'm trying to see if there's anything else interesting. Lions, I'm not interested in that. Cleveland, what do we think about the Browns this year? I'm trying to see if there's anything else in the chat here. Nothing else in the chat. Gabe, this one's for you. You said, please show my Pats. This one is for you, Gabe. Gabe, are there any games as a Patriots fan that you're super worried about looking at this schedule? I think that week 18 versus the Bills, that'll be a fun one. Excited about that. Bengals, that'll be a tough one as well. Bills again in week 13. I think the first chunk of their schedule is looking pretty good, pretty easy. And then following that bye week, I think that's when it starts to get a little crazy for the Patriots. Gabe, if you've got any thoughts, drop them in the chat. I want to hear your thoughts because you are the Patriots fan around here. Let's look at another team. They're coming in. They're coming in quick, and I'm feeling excited. Okay. Now we've got, I'm not sure how excited I am to watch the Falcons, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about them. First game on the slate for them is the Saints. Okay. Healthy Jameis Winston could be something for the Saints. Rams, that might be tough. Obviously, the Rams won the Super Bowl. You guys know this. At Seattle, I think Seattle's a big question mark at the moment. The Broncos did steal their QB, so interesting to see how that works out for them in terms of the quarterback situation. The Cleveland Browns, I really just don't have any faith in the Cleveland Browns in general. And maybe that's just me being a hater. I think they might need a rebuilding year, new QB. I feel like there's just this like big gray cloud called Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, so they might need a year or two. Bucks, that should be a good one. And didn't the Falcons actually, was it the Falcons that played really well against the Bucks this year? Or last season, maybe I'm lying. 49ers, interesting. Bengals. Okay, so here you go. I'm thinking the bye week is probably week 14. That's why it's blank. And they're finishing the year off with a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. Ouch. I mean, I would say the Cardinals are a good one, but we watched them crumble towards the end of their season last year. So, Gabe says, no, just want to head to Vegas for a fun weekend. You know what, Gabe? That is never, ever a bad idea. Ever, ever, ever. Okay. We have schedules just flying in right now. 2022. Is anyone interested in the Ravens? Let's take a look at the Ravens. Your 2022 Ravens schedule right here. They're at the Jets. Then they're at home versus the Dolphins. At Pats versus Bills. Ooh, Bills. Oof. You know what, though? It's interesting because I want to touch on this a little bit, too. This was something that I was looking at earlier today before the schedule got released. And there's a very interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a very interesting discrepancy in traveling for these teams. For example, the Steelers never leave the Eastern time zone once this season, and they travel the fewest miles. To me, that's a huge advantage. I mean, I am not these players. I don't travel on the road and then have to suit up and play football, but I can't imagine it's easy. There is a thing called jet lag. Nobody is above jet lag. And so I'm interested to see how, travel schedules, I think, play a huge role. Like I said, Steelers, very few miles, never leave the Eastern time zone. And then you've got teams like the Seahawks, who I think are they're changing time zones 34 different times in the season. So that's insane. So traveling obviously makes a huge difference. The Ravens bye week is week 10. They play the Broncos week 13. Finish off the season in Cincinnati. Won't be easy. I got a lot of faith in the Bengals this season, but I'm also a massive Joe Burrow fan. So there's that. And I'm a major bandwagon fan. It is what it is. Okay, let me check on, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Oh, I'm on their page. I don't want to be on their page. I just want to be on their, I guess I can just scroll down right here, right? Okay. Where is it? Here we go. It's just showing, this little graphic's just showing us through week 6, but week 1, the Cowboys. That is a tough draw for the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, if you don't know, now you know. I'm a big Dallas Cowboys hater. It is what it is. I went to TCU for 4 years. I was a part of the dance team there. I was a TCU showgirl. And I think while living in Texas for 4 years, I realized that the most obnoxious fan base to ever exist is the Dallas Cowboys. So do I have anything against the team itself? No, I do not. But I find the fan base to be extraordinarily obnoxious. So not a huge Cowboys girl. So that's a tough draw for them to face Tom Brady and the Bucs. Also, Tom Brady's going to be feeling himself. He just signed a huge contract to be an analyst for the NFL once he retires. So he is going to have a little bit of groove to him this season, and I just know it. Buccaneers, TJ Smooth Guy says Buccaneers versus Cowboys. I think the Buccaneers will win. I think you're right. Again, I don't have faith in the Dallas Cowboys, and that's just the cold, hard truth about it. Week 2, Saints. Again, they're that very interesting team. We could get a really great, healthy Jameis Winston, or we could get the Jameis Winston that throws a lot of interceptions. So, again, not sure how I feel about that. Packers week 3. That's a nice one. I'm excited about that. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, 2 of the most experienced QBs in the league facing off against one another. I'm actually really excited to see these older, I don't want to call them old. That's, but you get it. Older QBs in the league to kind of see how they do, because I feel like there's a lot of young bucks, not Tampa Bay Bucks. There's a lot of young bucks in the league that are really starting to make a name for themselves. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes has been that guy. We know. There's a lot. Who am I missing? Oh, Josh Allen. I love Josh Allen. A lot of guys, though, got a lot of young QBs with a lot of talent that I think just needed a year or two to just like find their groove, find their rhythm. And so I'm interested to see how these older QBs hang with the young guys. I'm sure Tom Brady will be just fine. And I'm sure Aaron Rodgers, actually, I don't have a great feeling about Aaron Rodgers this season. Something's telling me it's just not his year. Either way, that's neither here nor there. The Kansas City Chiefs, week 4. The Bucs have a pretty fun, exciting little schedule in the first 6 weeks. I mean, Steelers, but like I said, okay, let's actually focus in on this a little bit. It's not really telling us home or away. Oh, yeah. The red ones are home, just in case you guys missed that at the bottom. First 2 weeks they're traveling. They're going away against the Steelers. Remember what I said about the Steelers? They never change time zones and they travel the fewest miles. So maybe keep that in mind when you're betting the spread in that week 6 game, Steelers versus Bucs. The Steelers will likely be very, very rested. The Bucs are coming off of 3 straight. Oh, no, they're at home. Either way, Steelers might be rested. Keep that in mind. Like I said, they have a huge advantage this season with their road games. Something to consider. Okay, you guys, I know you're sick of hearing me talk, so good thing I have a friend joining me. I'll stop sharing my screen for now because I have a friend joining me. Bladen, what is up? I don't know.
Other than not my Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's okay. Wi-Fi, it happens. It happens.
It happens
to the best of us. We were talking a little bit about some of the schedules that have already been released. I was telling them I am a huge Broncos fan, so I was gloating a little bit about Russell Wilson. Of course, I have to. Let me have my moment, you guys. I'm not saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, but just let me be excited.
Yeah.
But we were taking a look at some of the schedules, and I think we looked at the Ravens, we looked at the Broncos. Who else did we look at? The Bucs have a pretty nice schedule. Unfortunately, the Cowboys drew the Bucs in week 1, so pretty unfortunate for Cowboys fans everywhere. But have you had a chance to look at any of the schedules? What's your first impression so far?
Did you say unfortunate that the Dallas Cowboys drew Tampa Bay?
No, unfortunate.
For revenge. I don't know what.
Particularly unfortunate. Sure.
I don't know about that. Tampa's not bulletproof.
You're right.
I wouldn't be so scared of Tampa. The one thing that does hurt Dallas is that they do love them some Ezekiel Elliott, and that is always a recipe for disaster when Tony Pollard is clearly better. Losing Amari Cooper is going to hurt. But, Dak's, I have more faith in Dak Prescott than a lot of people do. I like Dak Prescott. I have a lot of faith in CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The Cowboys have a very stacked
roster. The one thing that you need, the one wild card is going to be Trayvon Diggs. I think had 2 interceptions in their last game against Tampa, and I don't know if you're going to get that in a year, in the same year, like coming off a season where he had 11 interceptions, the most since like the 70s. I don't know if you're going to get that again out of Trayvon Diggs. But, I have faith in the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Dallas Cowboys truther. I always think they're going to be better than they are because they deserve.
That's fine. We all have that team that we have way too much faith in, and it is what it is. But any initial reactions you have? Some of the teams have already started releasing their schedules. Do you have any initial reactions or thoughts or concerns or anything that you're seeing right up front when the schedules are coming out?
You mentioned the Baltimore Ravens. I'm like the only Browns fan that does believe in the Baltimore Ravens clinically. I mean, they get the Jets week 1, chef's kiss, right? Everyone's coming. What you want? You want everyone healthy, and you want your debut game to be against the New York Jets. Come on, get to beat the brakes off. Robert Saleh, Zach Wilson. That's going to be a cakewalk for them.
Absolutely.
Then Miami. Oh, another beautiful game. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. No, I mean, I to your point with this Ravens team, I mean, last season they were very impressive considering the injuries that they were riddled with. Before you hopped on here, I talked about the fact that they were like, if it wasn't one thing, it was another. They had a lot of injuries that they had to face this past season, and they were still able to put up a pretty good dogfight with some pretty legitimate teams. So I think a healthy Ravens team is very dangerous. And I think they are definitely a team that's worth a sprinkle because let's not forget, yes, Lamar Jackson, I don't think that he did what he wanted to do necessarily with the Ravens last season. But again, so injured. He wasn't even fully healthy himself. So you get a healthy Lamar Jackson and a healthy Ravens team. I think they might be worth a little bit of a futures bet because I think that, like I said, they put up a dogfight a lot last season. And this season, if they can stay healthy, you might be onto something there, Bladen. You might be onto something.
I already have them winning the AFC North even before like the official schedule release. I mean, last season, the entire AFC North collectively had top 10 hardest schedules in the NFL. So now you have Baltimore coming in who, was already, like you said, competitive last year, despite being just totally destroyed at basically every position. Even their defense, which is notorious for being good, was beat up. Marlon Humphrey was having an off year. So, I mean, your first 3 games to go, Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, I think those are all wins. Then, you have a tough game against the Bills, but you've got some momentum at your back at that point. You don't have to come in first game, go against Josh Allen. Then you get Bengals, who the Bengals offensive line, I will give credit that it's improved, but the coming off of a Super Bowl loss curse, that shit's real.
Yeah,
the Bengals,
for sure.
The Bengals are the team to watch out for to slump a little bit.
I agree with that.
I'm not a big. Now maybe that's also my Browns bias.
I've got a sassy Logan in the chat. It's all good, Logan. We're gonna get those schedules for you. We already went over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule, but because I'm feeling like sharing some good vibes with you, I will go ahead and pull up that Tampa Buccaneers schedule again just for you. So I'm gonna share my screen. We're gonna get this thing open. Logan's getting sassy in the chat. He wants to know the deal. Fair enough, Logan. So here you go. Buccaneers. Here we go. We got preseason 1, August 13th versus the Dolphins. Should be an easy dub. Preseason 2, you've got the Titans. Ooh, might be a little competition there. Preseason 3, we know. Oh, no, thanks. I don't want the latest news. Sorry. We know how preseason games are, though. If there's one thing I learned last season,
it's the latest news.
I don't really want the latest news today. But we know how preseason games are. They're so hard to predict. You're not getting the full team out there. I don't enjoy betting on preseason games. I'm just going to put that out there. But either way, then you're looking ahead week 1, week 2. Just in case you guys can't see it at the bottom here, red is home and gray is away. I had to re-look at that because I was like, I don't know. I couldn't tell what was home and what was away. So first game, they are away. They're playing in Dallas. So Bladen, maybe we see an upset from the Cowboys in week 1. We could. It's possible.
I'm rocking with Dallas. Give me the Cowboys.
Okay.
I'm the only non-Cowboys fan that actually doesn't hate the Dallas Cowboys.
See, I'm not.
Tampa's schedule.
I'm a Cowboys hater. I am.
Okay. Fair enough. I won't give you too much shit for that. But Tampa, their preseason is going to be interesting because Tom Brady is is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire, right? Because he signed that media deal now. So, like, literally, he could just retire, any given year at this point. We saw him retire, and then I'm retired this season. So the preseason is going to be a really good opportunity to see what you have in Kyle Trask.
Yeah.
Because he's next man up. Now, I don't think you should need the preseason to see what you have in him. I think he's awful. But, maybe Tampa sees something that I don't. The New Orleans Saints, they have Tampa's number. They always have their number. Getting them like really early in the season and then again really late in the season, I'm interested to see how that plays out. I'm not sure if they'll like just somehow, start them off like real slow and just like, oh, let's say they start off 0-2. Now all of a sudden you're like, oh, are we going to go 0-4? Are we going to go, 1-5? How's that first stretch of the season going to look like? And then same thing, that back stretch of the season, you come out of your bye week, you play Cleveland. Now, Cleveland's interesting because they might end up losing Deshaun Watson for, at least half the season. We're not entirely sure how that looks yet. But, that they lose Deshaun Watson, and when are they more likely to get him back? Fresh out of the bye week, right? So you get a new Cleveland team, or maybe not even fresh out of the bye week, but like a couple weeks before that. Now coming out of the bye week, they have some rhythm with him. And then you go against a team that always has your number.
Right.
Like backstretch of the season, you're coming out of the bye week 0-2, 1-4. Like I think that could really end up playing poorly to the Buccaneers. They never play the Saints well. Coming out of the bye week, you have some tough teams. And you got the 49ers. And I know I just gave the Bengals shit against like the Ravens. Bengals are still a good team. So I'm not gonna. But then like your last three games, I think the Cardinals are criminally overrated.
I agree
Cardinals
with that.
Are going to drastically underperform this year. That Christmas game, what's the betting line for that game? Whatever it is, bet the over.
Right.
Buccaneers are winning by 1 billion. All right. And then you got New Year's against Carolina. Carolina's awful. And then you got Atlanta. Atlanta's awful. So like your last three games are okay.
For
You're
sure.
playing Germany.
Well, you mentioned
Germany.
You mentioned the lines, and I think, there's no harm in pulling up those lines really quick. We obviously don't have the Christmas lines yet, but we do have week 1, however. And so why don't we just rattle off really quickly kind of our first initial thoughts on these week 1 lines. Obviously, there is a lot that is subject to change between now and then. You guys know how betting works. We could give our opinions right now, but there's a lot that could change between now and week 1 of the NFL, of course. So based on what we've got right now in this moment, let's take a look at the week 1 NFL lines. First on the slate, the Bills versus the Rams. Now, obviously we know the Rams just won the Super Bowl. I'm sure everybody knows this. And the Bills to me were a team that, I'm not saying that this is the reason that they didn't win, but I hate the coin toss. And yeah, I'm going to blame it on the coin toss because I loved this Bills team a lot. I'm mostly joking. I love this Bills team a lot. I loved Josh Allen. I just think they were a really solid team. I think they're going to come back fired up, ready to go. I think they're frustrated. And yes, come here now. I'm not going to read that because I think it's meant to be probably not very appropriate. Either way, you make a great point. You said defense folded, simple. And you're right. It's easy. Of course, you can imagine which side of the game I was on. I had bet on the Bills. So naturally, I'm just going to be annoyed. I'm going to find any excuse I can to blame it on whoever I can. The coin toss was for sure frustrating. And I think that the coin toss has always shown a little bit of an advantage to one side or the other. But at the end of the day, play defense. And it is that simple. I mean, if they would have played better defense, then we wouldn't have had the issue that we had, which was they lost that game to the Chiefs. So tough loss for them. I think they come back motivated, fired up, ready to go. So I'm actually leaning Bills in this one. Bladen, you're back. What are you thinking about this first game, Bills versus Rams. I'm liking the Rams to be on a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. Bills fired up, ready to go under Josh Allen. I think I'm going to rock with the Bills in week 1. What do you say?
I want to trust you. I really do. But I look at the Rams. Okay, I'm a Stafford fan. All right, I'm a Stafford fan.
Okay.
So that's the one thing is I also love Josh Allen, right? But like at the end of the day, the Rams won the Super Bowl. They didn't get significant. Their team isn't significantly different than it was a year ago. I don't hate the. I'll ride with you. I'll take Buffalo. I like what they did in the draft. Kyra Long was a really good pick. Who was the running back they got? I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But I think overall, like Buffalo had a really good draft. I think that's going to be enough to vault them over the top. Josh Allen is still that man.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Agreed.
He's so good. And anytime the ball's in his hands, they have a chance to just actually the one thing that I really am not gonna like, and I'm interested to see how it plays out with the Rams, is how Bobby Wagner fits. Because I think like the move that they made from like veteran linebacker, edge rusher Von Miller, who was actually really effective for them last year in the pass rush, to now veteran linebacker, like run stopper coverage guy Bobby Wagner, who I had a Seahawks, analyst on my podcast, and he was over here like, bro, like that dude has been cooked for 2 years. So I'm gonna keep it real. I don't know if that plays well to what the Rams want to do. I think it's just a nice name.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the Rams defense actually lives up to how good people think it might actually be. Yeah, no, I'll take Buffalo.
Could you imagine if Von Miller secured his 3rd ring with the Bills?
It could
happen.
I've been thinking about that because
that's wild. Wow.
Like Buffalo's got to be like preseason betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. It's got to be Buffalo.
I think they're up there. They're up there. Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Let's take a look. I can pull it up.
It's got to be them, the Rams.
Future Super Bowl. Yeah, they're the favorite at plus 650 right now.
Yeah. Their roster is so good. They really just don't have any holes. Their offensive line's good. They finally got James Cook. They drafted running back James Cook. And he's not going to be an every down type of guy, but I think he offers a little bit of a different taste than like Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, who aren't really all that. They're not very explosive. You have Josh Allen, you have Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis came into his own last season. Your defense, you're anticipating Greg Rousseau to kind of take a step. Von Miller coming off the edge. I think that can be really dangerous. Their linebackers, might be I wouldn't say the weakest part of the team, but they're not awful. They had the number 1 defense last year, mostly because of the incredible safety duo in Hyde and Poyer. And then they add, corner Kyra Long to the mix, opposite of White. I mean, there's nothing on that team where you're just like, ooh, well, if they had this, they have everything.
Right.
They even have a coach. Like, what more do you want?
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So let's take it back to those week 1 lines.
They're so nice.
I think we're going to rock with the Bills. Some of these games are not as exciting. Okay. Hot take. Obviously, the Eagles, they lost. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm thinking of the Seahawks. Eagles. I'm interested about the Eagles. I am a former Horned Frog, okay? Jalen Reagor did not do what I thought that he would do, okay? At TCU, he was an excellent player. And, I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. He just didn't do it, okay? I'm going to leave it right there. What are your thoughts on the Eagles looking ahead to this season?
I'm going to be a little meaner than you. Jalen Reagor sucks.
I mean, I'm trying to sugarcoat it because he's a former Eagles, Frog. But
all right. Well, I'll let you have that moment a little bit. The Eagles are an interesting team. I think the Eagles are like literally boom or bust. They have the potential to either win their division or be like 6-11. Like, they could be so freaking good. A lot of it does hinge on Jalen Hurts. I think they surrounded him with the right tools. You look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith coming into his second year, Dallas Goedert. I think that, and they had the number one rushing offense last year. Their offensive line is spectacular. I think, like, PFF projects them to have the best pass blocking offensive line this season. So if all that holds up, like, you're looking at a team that should, on paper, like, that should be the best offense in the NFL, right, on paper. And a lot of that hinges on Hurts. And I think if Hurts, the trend that I've seen with Jalen Hurts since he was a freshman in college is he always gets better, right? Every single year he always gets better. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. But if Jalen Hurts steps into what he could be, like, he could win MVP, they could go to the NFC Championship. Like, that's how good they could be. If he doesn't, well, that's why they acquired some draft capital for next year so that they can get a replacement if need be.
For sure. I pulled up the Eagles schedule for you. Any initial reactions? I know you kind of said boom or bust. Does this schedule to you reflect booming or busting for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, Detroit week 1. Detroit is a team that I like a lot. I
was gonna say I kind of like the Lions to cover the spread in that first game. I really do. Something's telling me to do it.
The Lions are the team where, like the Eagles, they need just something to click. The difference with the Eagles is the one thing they need to click is Jalen Hurts. Everything else is kind of already there. The thing with the Lions is they need, the two corners that they've drafted the past couple of years to click. They need, Hutchinson to click in. There's the reports that he actually didn't want to play in Detroit, which is like, oh, how do you deal with that?
Right.
So you need Jameson to come in and be immediately game-changing, right? Because that's why you drafted him, right? You're not really stretching the field super well right now. And you need Jared Goff to stay, like, manageable. The offensive line is good. The defensive line is good, right? I think those are two things you don't really have to worry about. But there's a lot of things on that team where you're like, well, this needs fun place and this needs fun place. But I think they could come out the gate and just be like, I think they could start off like 2-3-4 now. Detroit could. Like, that's very reasonable. But, like, as far as just, like, better team, like, Eagles are the better team. It's just going to be about, like, pace and, like, how fast they start. Like, even if the Lions start out 4-0, they're going to slow down, and reasonably they finish the season with, like, 7 wins. Like, sure. I don't see a world in which they're just, like, drastically awesome. But, yeah, looking at the Eagles' schedule, we'll give the Lions. For fun, we'll give the Lions week 1. I'll let you have that one. Minnesota, they are wiping the floor with the Minnesota Vikings, man.
Okay.
Minnesota, I don't know what it is with them. Minnesota's another team like Dallas. Every year I predict them to be a little bit better than they're actually supposed to be, and they always disappoint me. So this year, I'm just saying you're going to be the most middle-of-the-pack, mediocre, average team of all time, and anyone who has any sort of, high projections is going to demolish you.
Well, there you have it.
There you Washington, have it. You're wiping the floor.
We have James L. in the chat.
Washington is
James L. said Vikings defense will be worthy this year. He said
put some money on that miss.
And he said, put some money on that Minnesota game. Let's pull up the Minnesota line for week 1. Who I don't even know who they're playing. Who's their first? The Packers. I don't love that for them. I do not love that.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is a bad man. He's a bad man. But he's not wrong about Minnesota's defense, right? They're gonna have Danielle Hunter this year. Anthony Barr at full strength. Like, they were missing a lot of guys last year defensively. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. Where I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt is Kirk Cousins. Where I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt is the fact that you're playing Aaron Rodgers week 1. So Minnesota just loves to disappoint. They always.
Well, my question for you is my question for you is Aaron Rodgers is entering the season without, he's starting the season without a star receiver. Now, that's not to say he won't have one, but he's entering the season kind of without what we've seen him have for a while. Do you have any sort of concerns with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in that regard, or do you think that because he is a bad man that he will do just fine without it?
Aaron Rodgers is kind of notorious for creating star wide receivers, I think. Out of middle round guys. You think about Jordy Nelson was kind of in that mold. You think about Randall Cobb, prime Randall Cobb was kind of, I think, in that mold. Devontae was kind of in that mold. Devontae didn't come on until year. Now that's the thing, is usually a lot of these guys don't come on right away.
Right.
Devontae didn't come on until what was it, I think year 4. So, but the difference there is they had guys to transition in, and they've never really had a dry period as far as receivers go. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think that Rodgers being, having a lackluster receiving group will hurt him that much.
Okay.
Yes, would you rather have Devontae than Christian Watson? Yeah, you would. No question about it. But I you look at it, I think they have enough diversity in terms of skill set in that receiving room that maybe it doesn't hurt them too bad.
Okay, fair enough. I have to ask you because I've got to know.
I feel like that's the very.
I've got to know your thoughts on this final game here. The Denver Broncos in Seattle. Now, listen, not just because I'm a Broncos fan do I want to know your take on this, but this is Russell Wilson going back home to Seattle, a place where he has played for a long time with his new team, the Denver Broncos. What are your initial thoughts on this? The Broncos on the road are favored by 4.5. What are your first thoughts here?
Let me ask, what are your thoughts? You're a Broncos fan. I didn't get to hear your thoughts on this game.
I think, you're oh, okay.
You look nervous.
I think that my first thoughts on this game are what I saw in the Broncos last season. To me, the problems were very, very fixable. I mean, I think every person can say that as a fan of their team. They can go, oh, this is a very fixable issue. The Broncos defense to me is one of the most underrated defenses in the league. I absolutely love this defense, and that is not me being biased. That is me just looking at this team and who they are coached by. He's a very defensive-minded guy, and their defense has been their strong suit for a while. I think the biggest issue as a Broncos fan watching the Broncos was this QB situation makes me want to gouge my eyes out. Anything could have been better than what we had. And that is not a knock on Teddy Bridgewater. It is not a knock on Drew Lock. I think the reality was we didn't have consistency in the QB position. And that's the first problem. It is a knock. It's a little bit of a knock. But more than anything, I think the lack of consistency is what hurt the Broncos because, Drew Lock, he was in, he was out. They kind of gave him a chance. It was no, you're done. Teddy Bridgewater, he had some injuries he was battling throughout the season. And that made it really difficult for them to kind of build that chemistry. I just think the Broncos defensively very strong. They have offensive weapons as well. And I think that we weren't able to see those offensive weapons in full form because of our QB situation. Now, do I think that there were some coaching errors last season? Yes, I do. But I'm not a coach, so I'm going to keep those to myself because what do I know? I'm just a psycho fan from the couch. So I will keep those to myself. But I do think this defense is very underrated. I think a strong defense going against a QB that's in a new position with a new team, relatively new compared to Russell Wilson just left, and now we've got a new quarterback situation facing a tough defense. I'm going to rock with my home team. I'm going to rock with the Broncos on the road to cover that 4.5-point spread. I am. And the under. I like the under.
You're justified. Okay. I think you're justified.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
you think about, like, not even that's just the fact that, like, Denver, I do think has, like, talent on both sides of the ball, like, a lot of it. I mean, the defense really is it's pretty incredible. I mean, I think about, drafting Pat Surtain was my favorite pick, like one of my favorite picks of the draft last year. So, like, I do think, like, defensively, you're there. I wouldn't worry too much about your defense. Safety's strong. I mean, that people talk about, like, safeties aren't a super valuable position defensively. I disagree. And having good safeties fucking matters.
Yes.
I mean,
it does.
The Bills defense, right? They have the best defense in the NFL last year. They had the best safety duo in football. There's a reason for that. All right. Seattle, on the flip side, has, very little talent.
Yeah.
Offensive line, their one saving grace is DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Why they didn't demand trades, Lord knows. Why they're choosing to stay and play with, Drew Lock, beats me. But they're going to, and it's going to probably be kind of tragic. But Russell Wilson returning home week 1, that's either it's going to be a blowout in one way, right? Either Denver's going to come in and, Russell Wilson's going to be throwing it all over the yard. Javonte Williams is going to rush like crazy. Javonte Williams is another guy. Love Javonte Williams.
He's awesome.
College. That dude
he's a baller.
He's so good. That, like, every once in a while you watch a guy and it's like, man, there are certain guys where it's just like, you don't need to look at stats. You just like, you don't need to get too analytical. You watch like 10 plays of a guy, right? And it's either he has that boy nice syndrome or he doesn't. Javonte Williams has that boy nice syndrome. He's just like that. All right?
He's
Javonte
just got
Williams
it going on.
Cook. So you let him cook. He's just got it. Yeah, I think realistically Denver probably runs away with this. It's a cool story. And, like, in theory, Russell Wilson could come in, get cold feet back home, and just totally choke this game away. Right? That could happen. Right? Drew Lock could throw for 3 touchdowns. Right? But that would be, like, picking for an anomaly. I'm not going to do that. Denver's going to run away with this. It's going to be a very convincing win. Seattle is not the team they once were. Like, it's wraps. It's wraps in that. It's wraps there. Seattle won't be that bad, I don't think, like, overall this season. But, like, this game, it's toast.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I'm it's really tough. This is like the head versus heart battle where you're like, this is my team. Of course I want them to win, but you don't want to be thinking with your heart when you're betting. You know how that goes. It's a recipe for disaster. But before we wrap this stream up, are there any other week 1 lines that you are like, guys, hammer this team is a sleeper? Do you have any sleeper teams? Do you have any futures bets for the NFL? Again, I know that there's so much that can change between now and then, but now that we kind of know the schedules a little bit and we kind of know the difficulty of schedules, is there anything you see that you like or any sleepers that you have this year?
Sleepers? I don't know about sleepers. I don't want to pick the Browns yet until I know who our quarterback's going to be week 1. If it's Jacoby Brissett, I think I might just, like, avoid watching them for a few weeks. Let's see. I gotta think about like Kansas City. I feel like Kansas City might have like that game is really tight. It's like that's like the expectation,
right?
But like Hopkins isn't playing week 1,
right? That makes a difference.
If there was any game where I'm like, right, I expected, and not even that. Like I feel like Kyler, this is not the second year in a row where he's gotten injured at the end of a season, and he's not performed well after coming back.
Right.
So, we're getting to the point where we have to wonder, like, how, like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, well, Kyler's not actually that good. Like, he is good.
Right. He is.
But at what point is that injury, are these injuries going to catch up to him early on in the season?
Right.
That's where we have to start being like, okay, he doesn't have his best receiver. And, like, how healthy is this guy? Right? How consistent is he going to be right out the gate? I do not love Arizona. Like, just like overall this year, I think they're like a dumpster fire waiting to happen. Like, if you were to, I think a description that I saw of Arizona, I can't remember where it might have been on Instagram. They are basically, it was like a third world football team, but they have like some diamond earrings. It's like they have Kyler. It's like, oh, that's cool, but like they haven't been able. They have these expectations every year to really vault themselves into a contender, and they just don't. So I'm not gonna keep believing in the Arizona Cardinals until they actually prove that they can compete. And this is a good opportunity right out the gate. You have Kansas City Chiefs. All right, you want to be a contender? Go play with the Chiefs. Go play with Mahomes. Right? I don't think they can. I think they get blown out.
Hot take. I love it. So just to kind of close this out, you guys, we went through and we looked at some of the schedules that have been released. We took a look. They're on the screen, the week 1 spreads. Obviously, as I have said a million times, a lot can change between now and then, but it's always fun to do a little bit of futures betting, sprinkle here and there. The Bills right now are the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Will Von Miller get a third ring with a third team? That is the never-ending question of the 2022-2023 season. It could be a thing, you guys, and it would be pretty stinking insane. But either way, I think some of the bullet points I can rattle off from here is Denver Broncos in week 1. We're riding it. The storyline is great. Wilson back in Seattle. We're rocking with the Broncos. Yes. Cleveland Browns, a lot of that is TBD. Obviously, we need to know who is in that QB spot. That is a huge difference maker. The Detroit Lions might be a sleeper. And the Arizona Cardinals are overrated. So that's kind of what we discussed a little bit in terms of those week 1 spreads. Again, a lot can change, but we're excited. The schedules are being released. Obviously, the NFL seems like it's a far ways away, but I feel like we're going to blink our eyes and we're going to be watching the NFL on Sundays again. So it's coming up. Don't ever hesitate to get into the FanDuel Sportsbook and place your futures bets, because that's where the good value is. If you look early enough, that's where you get that really killer value. Also, you can head to NFL, I think it's NFL/tickets, in order to get your own NFL tickets and watch games in the stadium. I myself will be going to a lot of Broncos games, as many as possible. Yes, it is NFL.com/tickets. So you can head there, get tickets for games. You guys know the NFL is just a blast. Someone mentioned earlier, it's the best league out of all the leagues. I kind of agree with that. So I'm definitely going to get some tickets this season. Watch Russell Wilson. Watch the Broncos team finally with a QB. That's what I'm going to go watch. So I'm excited for it. Any final thoughts, Bladen, before we wrap this up?
The only thing I have to say, actually, I'll give you one more hot take. Chargers are like a championship level team. I'll give you that. Chargers are a championship level team to watch out for.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm good.
There you go. So like I mentioned, we've got
I'm riding with Jay Herbo.
I love it. Like I mentioned, we've got a lot of bets that you can make in the futures market on the FanDuel Sportsbook. So, take whatever we said with a grain of salt if you want. But if you want to head to the FanDuel Sportsbook and tail us, please do that. We'll be sweating out bets all NFL season long. So make sure that you are heading to the FanDuel Sportsbook. Make sure you are purchasing tickets for the NFL on NFL.com/tickets. Thank you for joining us for this NFL schedule release little hangout session. We'll do a whole lot more of these during the NFL season. So until then, good luck, happy betting, Bladen, it was great to have you on here with me, and I'll hopefully see you very soon.